All right, joining me now is my dad, Stephen Shomler.
What's poppin', Zach? What's poppin'?
Oh my God, I can't do the glasses. Don't make me regret having you on the show.
No, we're going to have a lot of fun. By the way, I feel like I'm old school Zach or classic Zach because you're rocking the flannel today.
I guess, yeah, it's not a Hawaiian shirt. But,
I know, and when you wear that Hawaiian shirt, I'll tell you, that outfit is flat dripping, baby. I got to tell you.
I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if you know what you're saying.
I do know what I'm saying. Well, anyways, we should get started.
You're dating yourself. Like, you're I want to say boomer, but I'm not cool enough to say that.
I'm not a boomer. I'm an Xer.
It's just funny. I bring the old guy on the show to talk about baseball. Is that telling about baseball, or is that, I don't know.
Okay, as I say on one of my YouTube channels, Spark the Bonfire channel, I'm ready. You ready? Let's do this thing. All right, I
gotta say first on the show, and not on the show, around the house. I refer to the Hawaiian shirt as the party shirt. It's just comfy. It's great. It's much better and not as hot as this. I don't know why I'm wearing this, but I
like both actually. In all seriousness, I like the flannel look. I like the Hawaiian look. It's very, very good. All right, let's spill the tea. All facts, no printer. What's our topic? Come on now.
Stop with it. You got these like weird young. I don't even say those things. You don't even
know what they mean.
No, I don't think you do either. I'm not confident.
Oh, speaking of outfits,
you're saying drip and spill the tea and
what's poppin'? All facts, no printer.
Yeah.
But check this out, by the way. I am rocking my Strong Opinion Sports sweatshirt, and I got my Strong Opinion shirt under here.
I'm doing a tight zoom to my face just as I look disappointed. Like,
oh, and I got my Strong Opinion Sports mug. Yeah? I tell you right now, that is one mighty fine flex.
Jesus Christ. Stop it. No. We can't. You know, I'm going to leave this in the full episode. I'm cutting it out of the breakout. I'm not leaving all this.
Don't cut it out of the breakout. Come on now. People love it. What's the topic?
I want to talk about baseball. Some of the unwritten rules they're discouraging me from liking the league. And I know that I'm really careful when I talk about baseball because I like the sport of baseball. But I don't. Major League Baseball right now has really been, What did I do as a kid? I pitched. I played baseball as a kid. I love the sport, and the sport is great. I go watch Portland Pickles games last summer when they're happening. But Major League Baseball right now is really turning me off with all their. It's a lot of stuff, but the unwritten rules certainly are not helping.
So here's what I'm hearing. You got two different things. One, you're struggling with Major League Baseball.
Yep.
And you've got the whole unwritten rules of baseball. Now, I watched you play baseball a lot, drove around a lot, drove around in my old school, scary, terrible minivan. Went to a lot of games, threw a lot of kids and a lot of stuff in the back. And I drove around. I even had some future NFL players in the back of that minivan at a time, which was a lot of fun. But I don't ever remember hearing you getting taught a lot about unwritten rules when you played baseball.
No, we never talked about it.
You pitched. You had a great time. You did good. You loved it. By the way, what was your number?
42.
And why?
I love Jackie Robinson. People called me Zachy Robinson. I always admired Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Okay, so what are the unwritten rules of baseball? What does that mean?
I don't even. It's a bunch of nonsense to me. It's stuff that isn't in the rule book. That players deeply. It's not everybody. Can we actually start? I think the best way to introduce this topic is to talk about what happened 2 weeks ago with Fernando Tatis, where he plays for the San Diego Padres. His team was up 10-3. It was the eighth or ninth inning, I believe, and he hit a grand slam on a 3-0 count. And in baseball, the unwritten rule is you're not supposed to swing on a 3-0 count when you're up near the end of a game. And there's some like benchmark, like 6 runs. After the sixth inning, some nonsense, and it's just all dumb to me.
Well, it makes perfect sense, though, because teams can't come back 6 runs after the sixth inning. It never happens. It's impossible. No, it does happen, and it is possible, so it's stupid. But you're right. If you're up, if it's 3 strikes, or 3 balls, no strikes, and there's another pitch coming, you're supposed to let that one go right down the plate, not swing at it, and then when you have 1 strike on you, then the next time you can maybe swing. It is a stupid unwritten rule.
So Fernando Tatis hits a grand slam, like his second home run of the game, this incredible moment, and he's happy. You hit a home run, you're happy about it.
And the manager hit a home run, he hit a grand slam.
Yeah, and yes, it made his team up 14-3, but really what it did in my mind is it closed out the game. It's like, no, you're not coming back. The game is over. We won. And what I don't like is that his team, his manager, everyone kind of discouraged him and made him apologize for hitting a home run. And it's like, you don't understand. His job is to hit home runs. He's paid money to succeed batting and hit home runs. And if he doesn't hit a home run, like, I guess my point is that it's incentivized. You pay him to do that. And the more home runs he hits, the more he's going to get paid in his next contract. So I don't know how you could possibly discourage a guy from doing their job. Not to mention, I think one thing that drives me nuts about this whole conversation is that the pitcher was trying to get him out. The pitcher, if he doesn't swing on that, like if it doesn't swing on a 3-0 count, the pitcher's going to try to strike him out. And the first 3 pitches were all low and away. He's trying to get him to chase and get him to swing. And it's like, how can the pitcher compete, but the batter's not allowed to compete back? And then, I'm sorry, but it's not my job to cover your butt if you're a bad pitcher. It's called competition. And this discouragement of competition drives me nuts in baseball.
Okay, so you've got, on this episode, I'm not in that segment. You recorded an incredible segment with who today?
Flemlo Raps.
Flemlo Raps. Oh, I'm so excited for him. Well, someone else I would love to have as you have a guest on Strong Opinion Sports is John Boy.
John Boy Media, yep.
He does amazing for
I think
baseball.
Jimmy O'Brien is his name.
What is it?
I think his name is Jimmy O'Brien.
Jimmy O'Brien. So
I've talked to him a little bit through the John Boy Media account. They're great
not
people.
John Boy on his birth certificate?
I don't think so.
Anyway.
But I've talked to whoever runs their Instagram account, I've talked to that person. I assume it's Jimmy O'Brien. I don't know, but they're great people all around.
I think it'd be great to have him as a guest. I think you guys have hit it off. But he has a video, and I'm sure you can put a link in the comments. But
I will,
he has a video where he really goes in depth, and he says pitchers are basically babies. And I went, wow, it kind of makes it all make sense. If pitchers are babies and they can't handle being unsettled, then you have to coddle them, and
you have to walk on eggshells and tiptoe around to not make pitchers mad.
Yeah, because that pitcher was still trying to get him out, and the other team, had they quit? No. The Padres playing the Rangers. Had the Rangers quit and agreed, hey, we waved the red flag. It's a 6th inning. We're not going to hit any more balls. We're just going to swing and strike out every time. We're done fighting to win, right?
Yeah.
That hadn't happened. So if the other team's not quitting, why should you quit? It makes no sense. It's offensive to me.
Yeah. Well, if you're up 40 points in a football game, you're not going to stop running the ball or trying to, like, you slow down a little bit to try to get the game over quickly. But if the other team starts going on a run and scoring more points, you're not going to go, oh, well, we better stop and let them come back into this game. No, again, it's competition. You're trying to win.
Yeah.
And what you shouldn't do is, again, Fernando Tatis is judged on his batting average, on all this statistics. That's baseball works. Like, you can't just take, this at-bat I'm taking off because we're up by a lot. No. At the end of the season, when you look back at your numbers, which is what matters for contracts, no one's going to go, well, he had a whatever batting average, but, some of those at-bats where he was up by a lot, and no one factors that. No one cares about that stuff. So why should he? If that's not how his contract is made, why? You know what I mean? Like, he's incentivized to do his job.
Well, I think the bigger picture of unwritten rules, I think if the unwritten rules really mattered, they should put them in the rule book.
Yeah.
And if they don't matter, then, like, if I was a baseball player, I hate that kind of bureaucracy stuff. It just rankles me. I would do so badly in a corporate job now where there's certain things you're supposed to do just because.
Oh, hell yeah. I couldn't.
And I would not do well in baseball because, I don't care about unwritten rules. If it's important, put it in the rule book. Otherwise, go F yourself.
I would fight it really hard.
And it's just, and I think a couple different things happen. One is you end up with having people feel left out. And it hinders belonging and hinders community.
Who feels left out?
The people that don't know the unwritten rules.
Yeah, Fernando Tatis didn't know he's not supposed to do that. He said that. He's like, I didn't know. When I played baseball as a kid a lot. I played in high school. I played at many levels. And no one ever said, hey, if you're up by a lot at the end, don't swing on a 3-0 count. No, that never came up. That's not a thing that I was ever taught. And
so it leaves out, the players hinders belonging and community for the players because they don't, who else it leaves out? The fans, the casual fan who doesn't know and then doesn't understand, and then and then why? So there's one problem.
If I may, part of the problem is if you explain it, it's dumb. If you try to tell someone why that guy got in trouble, people would go, "Really? That's effing stupid."
So those are my two big problems. You nailed it. My two big problems, unwritten rules, whether in any organization, particularly in baseball, is it hinders community and belonging. And the second thing is they don't teach it. And exactly like you said, the reason they don't teach it is because it's stupid. Because once you start explaining it, people are like, well, that's dumb. That makes no sense. And it costs you credibility, which is why they don't put them in the rule book because it doesn't make sense. It's an expression of dysfunction and lack of health, not of something that's good for the game.
You worked in the nonprofit world for a long time.
Yep.
And in that, I don't want to go into that, but I will say that in that world, like, music with drums was bad. People were not allowed to wear jewelry. And I'm going to go take a step aside and say, well, let's talk about the corporate world. For a long time in the corporate world, it was inappropriate to have tattoos. And it's like, why? That's just stupid. And we're seeing culture shift more recently where you see people in offices with tattoos on their arms and nobody cares because at the end of the day, does that hinder you from doing your job? No one cares if you have a flower on your arm. It doesn't matter. And I think these silly rules, you hit it kind of, you said it right, is that if it isn't in the rule book, it probably shouldn't exist. It probably shouldn't be a thing. It's not worth it.
And the reason people don't know it is they don't teach it. And they don't teach it because if you were to teach some of the reasons for these rules,
it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It costs you credibility. Embarrassing is the perfect word. And I think, there's this whole get off my lawn, the whole old man syndrome.
Yeah.
And, reading what the Rangers manager said after the game, it's like, dude, you are so an old man, get off my lawn.
It's funny, he's in his 40s, though. It looks like it, right? He doesn't even look like an old man. It's not like he's this old 80-year-old dude who's decrepit and can't move. I mean, it's just that's the generation beyond their 20s in baseball. Everybody above 20 years old seems to have all this weird nonsense they follow.
Okay, and here's what he said.
Okay.
There's a lot of unwritten rules that are constantly being challenged in today's game. I don't like it personally. Yeah, no kidding. I think all of those unwritten rules should be challenged because they usually the reasons suck. And if really the issue is the pitchers are babies, well, then pitchers need to grow up. And they need to man up and grow a pair.
And again, if it's a big enough deal, make it a real rule. But you never would because you can't discourage competition in your rule book because that's stupid again. I just go back to this is all silly nonsense, and it's pushing me away from baseball. I love the sport of baseball. I like home runs. There was a play, it's old now, maybe a couple of years ago. Jose Bautista hits this incredible home run, flips his bat, and it's that's awesome. And football, I love the sport of football, and part of what the NFL has done recently is they understand, hey, celebrations, letting people, you score a touchdown and you hold the ball and you roll it down the end zone and all your teammates will end up like bowling pins and they fall over. What that does is it's not really it's a little bit more entertaining on TV. It's a fun moment, but what it really also does is gives you a moment on social media to share.
Yes.
And some of my favorite things, I don't really watch baseball anymore. I watch John Boy. I watch highlights. I watch moments that are fun. But the majority of baseball, it's like they're sucking all the fun out of baseball. It's why?
Yeah, and you're not supposed to celebrate a home run.
Yeah.
That is so ridiculous. And this is too young for you. You should go look it up. But one of the greatest home runs I ever saw was Kurt Gibson.
I've heard that name.
Yeah.
I think he had his baseball card a long time ago.
Yeah, he could hardly walk. He limped up to the plate. That I think it's Game 6 of the World Series. They're trying to win the World Series, and he gets down 2 strikes against him, and everything it looks hopeless. And I'm sitting there with your grandpa Denny, and we're in his house. And Denny's super into baseball, and I grew up watching the Dodgers, and I liked Kurt Gibson, and he can literally he's standing on one foot. I mean, just barely can't put his weight down. And he hits a home run, and he runs around those bases going like this the whole time.
I remember that video.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he a Mariner?
No, he was a Dodger.
Okay, got it.
Before that,
I've seen that video though.
Yeah, and he went and he played for the before that he played for the Tigers, if I'm not mistaken. But his joy, he just won a World Series game. His joy running around the bases.
I didn't realize the World Series game. Definitely wasn't a Mariner.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And his joy running around the bases was effervescent and amazing and fantastic. And I wish baseball could learn from its history and go back and embrace that. I love it when a guy hits a beautiful long baseball and he hits it and then he stops and he looks and then it goes over the fence and he drops his bat and runs around. That is just so cool to me. It's I want to do that. I want to hit a ball and watch it go over the fence and then run on the bases. And I don't think that's not in your face to anybody. That's hey, yes, dude, that is a mighty fine flex. That is way to go.
I've said this before, and I think it's important to restate. I don't talk about baseball as much as I'd like to. John Boy Media kind of does. He's when you see someone doing charity work and you're like, oh, that's so good for the world. The work he's doing is almost like charity for baseball. It's so good for the sport of baseball because baseball's so full of little moments. Kurt Gibson hitting the home run, Jose Bautista flipping his bat, or some weird a play where you get 3 outs on 1 hit and you're like, well, how did you have a triple play? That's so weird. Baseball's got all these crazy special little moments. And John Boy, what they do and what he does, but I think it's a team of people, but what they do is they highlight all those special moments. And so this is cool, this is cool, this is great, that's great. And they show me baseball still has something really good going on. But the more you discourage those little moments, the more you're hurting yourself because baseball as a whole, if you're not having those little moments, to me, isn't interesting anymore. You lose the fun.
And if I understand correctly, Major League Baseball doesn't really embrace John Boy.
Oh, no, they don't.
And he is an incredible ambassador and advocate for them, particularly to
He's
younger,
their best advertising campaign.
particularly to younger generation that finds it hard to connect with. Baseball is not an easy sport to connect with.
No, a part of the problem too is there's so many games. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to cover. I'm still, you have a problem sometimes in life where you're like trying to wrap your head around how to solve it.
Yep.
I'm still, the gears are turning. I'm still like, I like baseball. I don't know how to cover it yet because if I record, the NFL is really easy. Games happen on Sunday, sometimes Thursdays, sometimes Mondays, but for the most part, they're on a weekend, and the weekend ends, and then you talk about the games, and then you get ready for the next weekend. Baseball there's a game Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and like, how do I talk about a game from Tuesday on Wednesday the next day when by the time I'm recording, it's probably the next game's already happening? It's like and even whether I'm following or even if I'm not talking about baseball, just trying to understand what's going on, I can't follow all the storylines because it's literally like too many. I'm being bombarded with information. Like I can't. What baseball's geared towards, I think, is people that want to sit and watch only their team every single day. You can't follow the whole league. You can only really follow one team at a time if you watch that team every single day they're on.
Well, and to quote my friend Jerry, the way that your gyros are set is you watch, if you're going to do a film analysis, you just finished your TJ Watt film analysis.
Yep.
Great video. Mm-hmm. You watched all 16 games.
Yep.
All 16 games. When you do a quarterback analyst video, you watch all 16 games because you want the storylines, you're in depth, you want to pay attention to it. And so that's how you approach baseball, wanting, right, wrong, or indifferent, to watch all the games, and it's just a fire hose. You can't drink from that fire hose.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's exactly right.
So and you like the storylines, but to try and even keep up with all of it, I mean,
I can't track the storylines. Basketball's tough, but I can because at least there's a day between games. But I just can't do baseball. It makes me
maybe
sad.
if you do eventually in the future, maybe if you cover baseball, you'll just pick two teams, and you just kind of follow those teams throughout
or pick
the
a game
season.
once a week I watch, and I just say like I can only cover one game a week. I don't have an answer yet. I'm still
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, but what I don't want to do is like, well, what if I pick these two teams and there's a young emerging team I want to talk about, and I can't even get to them because there's two. You know what I mean? Like I don't like that. I want to be able to talk about everything I can and follow everything, and I just can't.
And here's what's funny is that even though you struggle mightily with Major League Baseball, the amount of games and the stupid unwritten rules and the whole way they do things, you still love baseball.
And I want to watch baseball.
Right, exactly.
What they have is a good product if they can figure out how to get it to me and do it the right way. Like I keep trying, and baseball keeps breaking my heart over this, especially 2020, the way they've done things, and with the Astros, and they wouldn't play games for a long time, and the Marlins. They keep hurting me as a fan of the sport, and I can't. I feel like they're pushing me away, and I don't want to be pushed away. I'm like, I don't want to break up with you guys, but if you're not gonna, I can't keep doing this.
It's like going out with a friend, and every time you go out with a friend, they just get stark raving drunk. And you're like, I like you, but you make a big scene and get stark raving drunk. I'm not going to go out with you anymore because you're not behaving in a way that's helpful.
Or even more, it's like you go out with, maybe this is not probably what's really happening. Maybe this is how I feel, though.
Okay.
It's like I'm going out with a friend and they just are mean to me every time I hang out with them. And after a while, you're like, I miss the good old days when you weren't mean to me, when hanging out with you wasn't a negative experience. I miss hanging out with you when it was good and it was fun. And the last 30 times I've hung out with Major League Baseball, it's been negative and not good and not fun, and I miss the good old days. And again, what I like about John Boy is he shows me those moments and reminds me of those good moments, but baseball for whatever reason, can't get their act together and stop from hurting me as a fan.
Well, and
I'm so sorry, but it makes me sad because I don't want to break up with baseball. I want to be a fan. I want to follow them, and I keep trying, and it's not working for me.
What other sports does John Boy Media cover?
I think he occasionally covers the NFL and like some random weird stuff. But
he's like baseball focus.
Yeah, like every once in a while there'll be like some random. I think there was like diving video I made the other day where like they had some weird Norwegian competition.
Yeah, drunk diving in Norway.
Yeah, he follows like funny because I think part of what John Boy does too is he's a good storyteller.
Yeah,
and if you send him a good story, it's like, oh hell yeah, I'll make a video about this weird random thing. But that's not. His bread and butter is baseball.
And he primarily does baseball, which it makes sense. If you're going to do baseball, you kind of really, like he does, it would be hard for him to do the NFL and baseball and the NBA the way he does baseball.
Yep.
because there's just a lot to digest and consume and figure out. Here's what I'm going to focus on and talk
Think
about.
of every team plays 162 games. There's 30 teams. I mean, he can make Major League Baseball content. The season can end, and he can go back to, like, let's talk about what happened in June and July and January. Like, he can go back and talk about anything he wants to all year, kind of like I do with film analysis, actually. There's really no off season for John Boy because there's so much content. There's no way he can cover everything he wants to during the season. He just goes back and talks about what he couldn't hit on the season.
And fans of that team or that player watch it. And 162 games to me is just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Say it out loud. The team you follow that you like is going to play 162 games. Who pickled their brains? Come on now.
Can we do 82 and have a day off in between each one? I mean, that's...
How about 60? I like the 60-game season. I think that'd be great. 60 games, all the games matter. Make it happen.
And what's sad, too, is I thought that the shorter season was going to be... I thought this was I was like, if I'm ever going to finally come back to baseball, this is the time, because they're playing a shorter season. It's going to be interesting. There's a tense playoff atmosphere, and they keep wasting it. They keep with the Marlins idiocy, now the unwritten rules nonsense. I'm wondering, like, am I not a fan of Major League Baseball? I like baseball, the sport, but am I just not a person who likes Major League Baseball? And what's sad to me too is that if you say anything negative about baseball, if you criticize anything, Major League Baseball fans just attack you and come after you. It's like, okay, you guys can all be mean, quiet weirdos in your corner. Like, weird's not the right word there, but I didn't want to say a-hole. But it's like, you guys can all
grumpy old men, get off my lawn, grumpy old men.
You can all be grumpy in the corner, but no one's gonna. After a while, your party's gonna go away, and no one's gonna be there. Like I just don't.
Well, because they're defending things that don't make sense and don't have credibility.
And other sports are growing, and they're not. I don't know.
All right, I think we beat this horse. It's been fun to be on Be Once Again Strong Opinion Sports. I think you should have me on every 6 to 12 months. I love that. I think it's great.
Once or twice a year.
Exactly.
Come talk crap about the Bengals and leave.
Oh, hey.
Hey, we had Flemlo on today, and we don't hate the Bengals. I wish I had an indoor practice facility. Oh, man. I don't know.
Love me some Cincinnati. I got to say that.
Gosh.
Cincinnati's a great little town.
Here's a good time to say all this before you go. We've been talking a little longer than I wanted to, but it's okay. People don't seem to understand that just because you are critical, you use critical analysis, you think about something and go, I don't like X, doesn't mean you're a hater, doesn't mean I love Cincinnati. I want the Bengals to work. I want Joe Burrow to work. I like Major League Baseball. I want it to work. I want it to be good. I want it. Just because I'm critical of something doesn't mean I hate it. I think what I always say, and it's kind of silly and stupid, but I love Nintendo. They're a great company. I love their video games. I like their stuff. They made a video game console called the Wii U. And it's like, first of all, it wasn't clear that, it's not the Wii. It's like a different, separate thing. It's a terrible name. It had this crappy controller that sucked. It was an effing nightmare. It was not a good console. And even though I love Nintendo, I love their games, I love Mario, I love Zelda, I love all the stuff they do, I'm not going to support that. Like, you better bring your A game or I'm not going to support you. And by criticizing Nintendo, everyone did. No one bought the console. No one supported them. What we got was a great thing that they followed up with the Nintendo Switch. And so it's healthy to have an environment where you criticize and you talk about stuff you don't like, because what it does is forces people to grow and change, hopefully.
Okay, but the reason they don't teach the rules in baseball, the unwritten rules, is because it's embarrassing, because they don't make a lot of sense and you cost your credibility, right?
Yeah.
The reason that there's certain cultures where you can't say what's wrong with the cultures, whether it's business or the nonprofit
talk about
world.
Ferrari and Formula One. You can't say anything about Ferrari or else you get fired. And that it's an unhealthy environment, because all it does is breed all kinds of secrecy and quietness. And
that's where I was going.
That's why Ferrari's terrible right now in Formula One, is because they're really dysfunctional. They can't talk about stuff. There's no dialogue. There's no conversation. It's, if you say anything bad, you're fired. But if you don't say anything bad, we're not going to win and succeed. You can't have everyone saying yes all the time. Doesn't work.
And in cultures where you can't say anything, you can't be honest without getting attacked, those are unhealthy cultures, and those eventually, they just don't work, and they create a kind of thing that is just very, very unpleasant.
I totally agree. Dad, thank you so much for being here. Love you so much.
Love you. Proud of you. Love me some Strong Opinion Sports. My favorite sportscaster, Zach Shomler.